Hi, I'm Valerie Englehart, and in this video, I want to paint an abstract, kind of moody mountain landscape. So I'm starting with some Arches cold press 9x12 140-pound watercolor paper on a block, and I'm just using my flat hake brush to spread water all over it because I want really loose, misty atmospheric effects. For this painting, I'm just going to use one color. It is by Rockwell Art, and it is Cleopatra Green. I find this green to be great for evergreens, which is what I'm doing. So I've got some fresh pigment straight from the tube, just squeezed out on a scrap piece of paper. And I've got a it's long but small oil fan brush. And have you ever watched Bob Ross paint? And whenever he's doing trees in the distance, he kind of just taps with his brush in a vertical motion. So that's what I did. I just decided to do it almost like an oil painting, just in the technique of using an oil brush and tapping my pigment onto the paper. And I find that it's creating a nice appearance of pine trees just off in the distance. Now, part of what inspired me to do this is my daughter has been going on and on about wanting to go to the mountains. We went to Leavenworth back around New Year's, and it was snowy and misty and moody and beautiful and just breathtaking with just some snow, and the air was just it's so hard to put into words, and I guess that's one of the reasons why it's so great to do art. I'm not good with words. I don't do words good, but I do art kind of good. I do art. So I've put in a couple lines of trees, and I wanted to have a little bit of like white space between. So I didn't put the lines all the way together, but there is too much contrast, I find. Like the sky was too bright, and the mist in the mountains kind of like swooped upwards. And so I'm using my hake brush, which I don't use very often. I'm not sure I actually like it very much, but I love to try new things. And sometimes you're surprised. Maybe you didn't think you'd like something and you do. In this case, I'm still trying to like it. I've got a spray bottle now because I want my paint to move more. When I put that paint on my paper, that is fresh, pure pigment. So it's very dark, but it means, this is watercolor. To make it really special, add water. So I'm adding water. And I'm tilting my board so that the effect goes upwards into the sky. And because these trees are the furthest away, I want them to be the least detailed. I want them to be the mistiest part. And I wish I could say that I went in here with a plan and did studies and such, but no, this is essentially my study. I am not a planner. I'm ooh, this is cool. Let's just do this and see what happens. And so that's what this painting is. Use my brush to drag some of that wet pigment down because the paper dried pretty fast. It's actually not terribly hot today, or the day I painted this. Our summers aren't super hot here in Western Washington, so I don't know why it's drying so fast. I think it's because the hake brush doesn't hold enough water to really get my paper saturated, and so the bottom part had already started to dry. So the top of my paper is far more wet than the bottom. But I wanted this piece to be kind of abstract. I just wanted the feeling. I don't want to get all of the branches exact. In fact, when I looked up at the mountains, I couldn't see any details. I just knew they were trees because of where I was, and just the feeling. That's what I wanted to capture, was how it felt when it was the morning and I opened up that sliding patio door to look out, and just the awe I felt being surrounded by this gorgeous landscape. Ended up having to squeeze out more pigment. Whenever you paint like this, it's funny how much pigment you actually use. And I know that professional paints can be expensive, but remember, watercolor is only wasted if it stays in the tube. And if you really want to stretch yourself, you need to be prepared to use a lot of paint. All right, different spray bottle now. And go. And I love how it's diffusing down. In my head, I thought about having this lower right corner just sort of fade away. But I wasn't liking that, so as I was spraying it, I'm just making decisions as I go. And as I'm going, I'm like, I don't really like that so much. So I fill in the space. And notice how I'm holding my brush. I am holding it on the very back, and because it's an oil brush, it is a very long handle. But I want loose strokes. I don't want things getting really tight and detailed, so I'm holding my brush on the very end of it. And it's almost like a dance, just dancing around my piece, dotting things in where I think they need to go, and then lifting and letting that wet water just move around in the direction that I want the flow to go. And I'm going to be honest here, at this point in the painting, because I didn't study first, I didn't really go in with a plan. I was starting to feel like, oh man, what am I doing? What did I do? Do I just put this away and get another piece of paper? But if I'm encouraging you all to keep at it, not to give up too soon, well then I shouldn't either. So I decided to keep working on it. I mean, if I'd already decided that I was going to throw this away anyway, then what's the harm in going in more? So I've washed too much away. I do want that atmospheric loose effect, but now it's way too drippy, way too loose. And so I'm just picking up more fresh pigment and lightly putting it in, but only in a few spots, because I don't want to end up in the same issue that I had before of too much all over. I need variation. And I'm sure that you can tell, but I forgot to mention, I do have my block up at an angle. It's propped up on a couple little wedges, and not an extreme angle, but enough to get that water to flow. And when you're painting, try turning your paper at different angles. It might give you a better, angle for your arm, or you might see things in a different way. And since my paper is wet, anything I put down, even though it's thick and it's not moving a lot, there are small, subtle movements of the paint. And so that can also help to create some motion without having to actually put it in yourself, just letting gravity do the work. And just continuing to dot in abstract pine trees. All right, the painting is still wet. This whole thing is basically all done in one wash. I considered letting it dry and then coming back for details, but I knew if I did that, I'd start to get really tight and start adding in individual branches, and these mountains are really far away. I don't want to do that. That will ruin it for me. But I also don't really like this either. It's not quite what I wanted. So at this point, I'm thinking, what can I do to bring this back? I spritz a little more, try to get some more atmospheric movement going. Just not quite sure. I'm really going at this, just trying things out to see if I'm gonna have an aha moment. Now I'm about to put myself in the same problem I had before of making everything too loose. I love being a loose painter, but, you need some detail. But I do like that I'm getting more of that swoosh of the mist that I'd kind of missed in my earlier pass at this. But I can see that once again I'm having the problem of I put down the paint and then I added the water, and now it's becoming just another blobby mess. But I've gotten a little further. I'm at least getting the movement that I sought to get. So there's a win. But it's still not what I want. So I pick up a paper towel and decide that, I had already decided earlier that I was going to throw this away, so let's just see what happens if I grab a paper towel and just start scraping at my paper and just dotting off the paint and lifting things up. And because this particular paint is not terribly staining, and it's all still wet. I never let this painting dry, at least not on the video. So it was really easy to just go in with a paper towel and reclaim that light space without it being too light. And so it really gave that foggy, misty, abstract look. And I was like, oh, this is really cool. I'm going to keep doing this technique. And so I go through my painting at this point and just start lifting out misty, snowy sections. And I even do it over that really dry patch real quick just to soften some of those edges. And more scraping to create that upward motion. I feel like the foreground for this piece is still too much of just a block of color. So I'm going in and dabbing with my paper towel, just lifting some more mist. Definitely doesn't seem like a traditional way to paint a landscape with watercolor, but you know what? I'm actually really liking it. It's kind of a different way to work. All right, back with the fan brush and fresh pigment, because I do need just a little more, I don't want to say detail, but I just need more. It needs a little more, but I have to be careful at this stage because I know, especially having just through this painting, gone through it a few cycles, need to be very careful, very deliberate where I put my marks. Because I have done too much of the put stuff down spray, only to have to go back and do it all again. So very deliberate. And here's the finished painting after I let it dry naturally. So if you liked this video, press that like button so I know to make more like it. And if you have any suggestions for what you want to see me paint, let me know in the comments below. I'm always looking for more subjects. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!